Let's get this over with. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What is good, y'all? Are y'all ready to talk about the greatest fight of the century right here? Let's talk about the greatest fight of the century. We've had Floyd and Manny. You know what I'm saying? We've had Spence and Crawford. We had Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis. You know, we can go on and on about it all. We just had Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. But all of those fights put together doesn't even equal a fraction of the excitement that we have for Teofimo Lopez versus Steve Claggett. This is the fight that all fans wanted to see. You know, this is a legacy fight right here for Teofimo Lopez. He wins this, and he's automatically the greatest fighter to ever live. We all know about the hype. Now, let me be honest with you guys, okay? Ain't nobody really excited to see this. This fight, you want to hear a fun fact? This fight is taking place in Miami in a convention center that holds a maximum of 5,000 people. Breezy, I went to a small D1 college. I think we had a baseball game that had more than that. I mean, this is sad, man. You know what I'm saying? And according to Teofimo Lopez, he said the reason why he's fighting Steve Claggett, who, by the way, box rec, I think you're tripping, okay? Before I even continue with that fact, I'm sorry I just cut myself off. Do you guys know that Steve Claggett is ranked a 5-star on box rec? A guy whose record is 38-7. Yeah, he's ranked number 8th in the world in super lightweight. He's the number 1 ranked Canadian super lightweight. I mean, look, here's the thing. All right, we're gonna get to the breakdown in a little bit, but I mean, this is sad. Now, Teofimo's reason for fighting Steve Claggett, he said, because nobody wants to fight him. Nobody wants to fight this guy. He said, plus he feels like Steve Claggett could bring a very exciting fight to the fans. Now, in that perspective, I kind of understand it to a degree because he didn't get that. I mean, let's be honest. Sandor Martin was not an exciting fight. Jamaine Ortiz wasn't an exciting fight. I think Teofimo wants a guy that's gonna stay in the pocket and bang with him, and that's what he's gonna get with Steve Claggett. Now, look, before we get to Steve Claggett, let's do the breakdown of Teofimo Lopez. Breezy, I'm gonna have you start off first. We did a breakdown of Teofimo Lopez not too long ago when he fought Jamaine Ortiz, but maybe there's some, new strengths or weaknesses that you might have picked up on that fight. But for the most part, for the people who didn't watch that episode or didn't listen to that episode, please break down Teofimo Lopez as a fighter, strengths, weaknesses, and his keys to victory.
It's the breakdown of Teofimo Lopez. As far as Teo, y'all know what it is when it comes to his strengths. Obviously, his power, his speed, his ability to transition, use head movement, and his footwork. Now, see, before I would sit right here and say that one of his biggest strengths was cutting the ring off, but looking at his last fight, it didn't look as prestige as it did in his other fights. So maybe you could say he has problems with cutting the ring off. Now, as far as his weaknesses, I feel like he just struggles with pure boxers. I think if you don't bang with him, and if you're like a pure boxer, like a boxer that's going to move around, that's not going to stay there and get hit, I think you present problems for him. And I think we've seen that with Jamaine Ortiz. Now, obviously, some people be like, well, Lomachenko is a boxer. Yes. But I also do think, too, Lomachenko started off late in that fight, which, I feel like if he would have started off early, I feel like that fight would have been a little bit different. Not saying that the result would have changed, but I feel like, stylistically, like if you can outbox him, if you can move, if you can use defense, if you got a good, nice, decent jab on you, you can give and present him all kinds of problems. But this is not to say that T.O. is a bum. It's not to say that he's a trash. It's not saying that he can't box. He's a boxer puncher. But I do think that if you make him have to actually box you, I do think like that's where like it presents problems, because now he has to go through extra lengths as far as cutting the ring off. But for somebody like him, who is a boxer puncher, so he's explosive, where he's really sitting on that defense, he's waiting for you to throw something so he can counter you. So I really think that, and I'm not saying he doesn't have defense. He has defense. But what I'm saying is, if you try to box with him, then he'll go to that extra extent and measure. But at the same time, though, he's kind of like almost some, not all, but some other boxer punchers where it's kind of like, if you're not banging with him, then you present problems, you know? And as far as, another thing is too, sometimes getting caught in between shots. Sometimes he try to leap into them shots. Now, and I know he's real adamant about fighting Tank Davis. What he has to realize is this, right? You have to pick your shots carefully, right? And I'm not saying that he don't, but sometimes, Tia likes to have fun. He's kind of like the Fortnite version of a boxer. He likes to do these emotes in the ring. He likes to do all these kind of like stylistic matrix type dances and whatnot. He basically likes to play around in the ring. So that'll be my breakdown for Teofimo Lopez. But he does have speed. He does have defense. He does know how to use his footwork at times. And I'm gonna say one of your points that you said before. When it comes to a big fight, he usually shows up.
I do think he is a good boxer, and I do think he is a good brawler too. Again, I think he can scrap you on the inside and the outside. Now, obviously, recently we've seen that with outside fighters, it hasn't been the most exciting fight. However, against guys like Jamaine Ortiz, who was considered boxers, guys like Sandor Martin, who is considered more of like a boxer in a way, he was able to, go in there and get the job done. Now, Sandor Martin gave him a lot of problems, and Jamaine Ortiz, obviously it was a boring fight because he felt like Jamaine Ortiz kept running around. What I will say about Teofimo Lopez is if you show up, he's going to show up too. And he's going to make sure he gives you a great fight. Even in that fight against Kambosos, that was a very, very good fight that they both had. And everybody talks about how Kambosos dropped him. Nobody talks about how Teofimo got it right back. And it was a split decision. I mean, I'm not saying Teofimo won or anything like that, but what I am saying is Teofimo knows how to fight with the best. He knows how to kind of adapt the style that he's fighting against. For instance, he's not going to go brawl against a boxer, and he's not going to box against a brawler. What he's going to do is he's going to find the best style that he can use to defeat that opponent. He proved it with Josh Taylor against Lomachenko in his first ever big fight. He stepped up, and what I will say about Teofimo, what I will say about Teofimo Lopez is he just knows what shots to pick. Like, it just seems like if you ever watch his fights, it seems like he knows how to find openings, how to create them, and he knows how to pick his shots. And with Teofimo Lopez, he's a very sneaky puncher in a way. So this is the type of guy that will, and this is one thing I forgot to mention when we were doing our breakdown of him and Jamaine Ortiz. He knows how to use feints very, very well, and he uses them differently to what a lot of fighters do. A lot of fighters will usually like twitch and like make it look like they're throwing a jab and kind of switch levels. He don't do that. What he does is he'll swing his arm up and he'll hit you with a body shot with the other hand just to create that little tiny opening to land that punch. Against Josh Taylor, he'll do stuff like you said. I know he does all those Fortnite emotes and everything like that, but he'll do little tiny things like shift his body and move his feet around a little bit to get that person to kind of turn their body a certain way or to lift their arms up a certain way so he can land those specific types of shots. Maybe sometimes it's to lower those hands, So I feel like Teofimo, his number one strength is adapting to whatever fighter he's against. If he's going to go up against a boxer, he's going to make sure he does what he has to do to make sure he defeats the boxer. Now, obviously, when he goes up against boxers, it's really boring fights. The fights are really boring. And I'm a big Teofimo Lopez fan, but his fights are boring against boxers. When he fights brawlers, guys like Kambosos, who can scrap and bang with the best of them, guys like Josh Taylor, who can scrap and bang with the best of them, that's when we start getting exciting fights with Teofimo Lopez. And so when it comes to this fight, I think Teofimo Lopez is going to have to rely on being the boxer against a guy like Steve Claggett. And why do I say that? For y'all who don't know who Steve Claggett is, I mean, the guy's 38-7. Basically, he's a journeyman. You know what I'm saying? But this is the type of guy who's never gotten a real world title shot. This is the type of guy who's never gotten that big opportunity to showcase his type of skills. You could say he's like a real life Rocky. You know what I'm saying? A guy who nobody thinks has a chance to beat a guy like Teofimo Lopez. But again, when you step into that ring, anything's possible. And I will say this. after watching Steve Claggett, after kind of getting familiar with him, I do respect his style. I do respect the way this guy fights. Now, let me start off with Steve Claggett, okay? The reason why I respect the way he fights is this is a guy that's going to bang with you on the inside. And this is a guy who, I'm saying this right now, Teofimo better watch out for those body shots, especially the left to the body, because that's the shot I feel like Steve Claggett prefers. I mean, this guy, he's knocked out a lot of guys with that left body shot, and he's the type of guy that's kind of like a sniper, he's going to go into the inside with you. And the thing is, too, he likes to stay on the inside a lot, which is a weakness for sure, especially against a guy like Teofimo Lopez. But he knows how to scrap and bang. And I think Teofimo Lopez is right when he's saying this guy is going to bring a very exciting fight, because this is a guy that's not going to move around the ring, not going to try to, pick his angles and shots, kind of like Jamaine Ortiz. This is a guy that's going to go in there and scrap and bang with Teofimo Lopez. Now, what does that mean? It means this guy is tailor-made for Teofimo Lopez, because that's exactly what Teofimo Lopez wants you to do. He wants you to stay on the inside. He wants you to scrap and bang with him, because Josh Taylor learned it the hard way. That's how he's going to try to catch you. That's how he's going to try to get a knockout. Now, what I do like about Steve Claggett is he does know how to throw a variety of punches. He has a high volume of punches. And I feel like if Steve Claggett is going to win this fight, he's going to have to throw a high volume of punches. He's going to have to outscore him that way. So if Teofimo in this fight throws 200, Steve Claggett might have to throw 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? He's going to have to throw a lot of punches just to equal what Teofimo is going to land. Because I do feel like Teofimo is going to be pretty accurate in this fight. So Steve Claggett is going to have to throw a high volume of punches in order to have some type of chance of winning. If I'm Steve Claggett, the way I'm looking at this fight is try being technical, try being composed. Let's see where that goes. And if that's not working, then you got to give Teofimo Lopez a fight. You have to bring the pressure to him. You got to make him fight. You got to do what Kambosos did, because let's be honest, Breezy, Teofimo Lopez was at one point the hottest boxer to step onto the scene. And then he beat Lomachenko, and we all were looking at him as like the #1 fighter in that division. And then what happened? Some guy named Kambosos, who, let's be honest, not many boxing fans probably didn't hear of before that, because Kambosos didn't have any big fights, ended up going in there and shocking the world. Does that story kind of, sound a little familiar to what Steve Claggett can do come the 29th? Not saying he's gonna do it, but I'm saying anything could happen in this sport of boxing. I'm not saying he's gonna do it. I'm not saying that. Okay, I have Teofimo winning this fight, but all I'm saying is this: Steve Claggett has the chance to shock the world, and this is the only opportunity I feel like he's gonna get in his career. I mean, the man's been boxing for 15 years. He's been a pro boxer since 2008, Breezy. So this is his one opportunity to make a name for himself. Now, with that being said, I do think his weaknesses is he doesn't have head movement. This guy doesn't have head movement. He doesn't have footwork. He's not going to be able to cut angles like Sandor Martin. He's not going to be able to have quick feet and be able to move around like Jamaine Ortiz. And that's what's going to cause him problems, is because he's just going to stay in the pocket and scrap and bang with Teofimo. And you can't do that. He doesn't have the head movement like some of these top 140 pounders, like a Devin Haney, a Shakur Stevenson. I know he's 135, but regardless, he doesn't have the head movement of those types of guys. A Tank Davis, as you would say. He's a guy who's just going to stay on the inside. He does. I will say this, though. He keeps his hands up a lot. He keeps his hands up a lot, which is a good thing for not getting clipped in the head. What does that mean? It's a bad thing for getting clipped in the body. If you keep your head, it's simple math. You keep your hands up, your body's wide open. And he fought a guy named Yves Ulysses Jr. I believe I pronounced that right. And every single time he went to engage and pursue, Ulysses would hit him with a nice 1-2. He would hit him in the body. He would basically, every single time Claggett tried to come in and, land some tough shots, Ulysses was like, you're going to feel my punches every single time you try to come in. And he kept hitting him with a bunch of counter punches. And I feel like that's the reason why Teofimo is going to have to box in this fight, is because that's the way he's going to beat Steve Claggett. I mean, he could beat him any way he wants to. He's probably going to decide, let's go on the inside and go punch for punch. And I do feel like Teofimo could win that way, because I don't think Steve Claggett has been in the ring with a guy like Teofimo Lopez, and he hasn't felt the power of a punch from a guy like Teofimo Lopez. So I feel like he can beat him anyway, but I would prefer to see Teofimo Lopez have a boxing masterclass in this fight. You might feel different about that, Breezy, but give me your breakdown on Steve Claggett. Maybe you found something that I haven't, but give that breakdown for all the fans, all the listeners that are watching or listening on the podcast or YouTube.
That boy is tailor-made. Tailor-made to the T, tailor-made to the key. I'm telling you right now, T.O. is smart. He is a very strategic, smart man, okay? Look, I get the whole entertaining fight aspect of things, and I can tell you this right now. Him getting in the fight with Tank will be very, very entertaining. But as far as this Steve Claggett guy, look, I'll put it this way. He got a nice guard up. He keeps it up pretty well. But what did Mario just tell you? If you keep that guard up, what's open? Your body. And what do we know about T.O.? He love to slip them feints to that body. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now, mark my words, okay? He has no outside game. The man ain't got no head movement. Respect to Steve Claggett and everything he has done, but bro, I'm just telling y'all, and I understand anything can happen in boxing. So if Steve Claggett go up in there and do the unthinkable, I will eat my words on the next episode. But I'm telling y'all right now, look, his strengths, his power, guard, he keeps the guard up pretty well. Like Mario said, when he go to that body, he's very lethal to that body. So he does know how to sneak those body shots in there. But I'm sorry, other than that, though, hello? Anybody that's watching boxing for y'all can't be this slow. Y'all, in the words of AB, I beat that boy. He gonna beat that boy. Okay, let's stop lollygagging and whatnot. Come on, T.O., the guy that loves to fight in the inside, got a guy who's known for being in the inside. Hello, I'm not the best at math, but this is clear math. Let's go to the prediction, man. I'm done playing around with this, man.
The prediction, let me give y'all the betting odds, all right? Teofimo Lopez. First of all, I don't know how Teofimo Lopez is a favorite. Steve Claggett is clearly the greatest fighter to ever live. You know what I'm saying? So, but Teofimo is a minus 1,200 favorite. Steve Claggett is a plus 710 underdog. Now, as far as the popular method of victory, according to FanDuel's sportsbook, Teofimo Lopez by knockout is at minus 140. Now, the least popular method of victory would be Steve Claggett by decision, which is plus 1,900. That's what I find interesting. They have Steve Claggett knocking out T.O. at lower odds than Steve Claggett winning a decision. That's crazy because T.O.'s never been knocked out. But the fact that they have the odds for the knockout at plus 1,200 and the odds for the decision at plus 1,900, you would think those odds will switch. But obviously, the real least popular would be a draw, which, I mean, if you look at Teofimo Lopez's fights, a lot of them have been very, very close to draws, Breezy. A lot of them, you know? I mean, we almost got a draw in the Sandor Martin fight. You know what I'm saying? The Jamaine Ortiz fight, some fans probably ruled that a draw. So either way you look at it, that might not be a bad way to go. I'm just joking. But nah, look. If you guys want to play it safe, then you bet Teofimo by knockout. If you think that Teofimo is going to go the distance, that's at plus 170. That's something you could click to make a little bit of money. If y'all really want to get ballsy and you guys want to pick Steve Claggett by decision at plus 1,900, feel free. You know what I'm saying? Because then you're really going to pay out. But either way you look at it, Teofimo Lopez has all the odds in the world to win this fight, you know. But listen to me right now, Breezy, okay? We've seen big upsets before. Andrew Ruiz versus Anthony Joshua. You go back to the 90s. Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas. Here's what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is this. Teofimo has to win this fight. Imagine if Teofimo comes into this fight and he gets a split decision or he loses. Oh, my God. You guys thought Sabreo Matias losing to Paro was bad? Teofimo will never live this down. He will never live this down. So I'm saying this right now in front of those 5,000 people in Miami. Teofimo, you better show up. And I'm just saying this right now. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see the same Teofimo Lopez that got beat by Kambosos, that almost lost to Sandor Martin, the one that asked himself, do I still got it no more? I want to see the Teofimo Lopez that went in there and put people on their asses. I want to see the same Teofimo Lopez that knocked out Richard Comey. I want to see the same Teofimo Lopez that defeated Lomachenko. I want to see the same Teofimo Lopez that told Josh Taylor he's going to beat his ass and then went in there and beat his ass. That's the Teofimo I want to see. So with that being said, last but not least, let's get to the predictions, Breezy. Teofimo Lopez versus the GOAT, Steve Claggett. Who you got?
I got Steve Claggett in 10th round K. But let me stop playing with y'all. Come on. Teofimo Lopez by stoppage in the 7th round by accumulation of punches, man. I'm gonna tell you this right now, right? This is what's gonna happen. Steve Claggett, he gonna get in there, he gonna get the rhythm. You know what I'm saying? He gonna do his little inside game, and you know, T.O. he gonna have his rounds. You know what I'm saying? He gonna throw those feints, and he gonna throw him to the bottom. He basically gonna play with his food until he done playing with his food. And I felt like it's gonna be kind of like back and forth. Claggett might win a round. T.O. might win a round. T.O. might win a round. Claggett might win a round. And then I think come round 7, if T.O. start doing some dances, if he start hitting that, y'all better watch your betting odds. I'm telling Teofimo Lopez by 7th round stoppage by accumulation of punches, man. Stop playing.
I got Steve Claggett by round 1 knockout. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably happening in the first minute. Nah, I got Teofimo by 5th round KO. I think that I feel like come by the 2nd, 3rd round, I feel like Teofimo's gonna prove that he's just too much for Steve Claggett. And I think he'll keep him in there for the 4th, 5th round will come. I can see it going to the 6th, but yeah, Teofimo Lopez, 5th round knockout. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we're gonna see pretty early that Teofimo is just levels and levels above Steve Claggett.
And if I'm wrong, I will come on here and eat crow like I usually do. But y'all is not finna. I be seeing y'all be commenting and whatnot. I be seeing y'all little comments. Y'all is not gonna get in the comments. And first of all, shout out to the person that said I look like John Jones. Cause God doggy, that ain't the first time I heard it. But shout out to you. But if I'm wrong, I will come on here and eat crow. But y'all not finna sit right here and tell me I'm too crazy for picking Teofimo Lopez to stop this guy when it's all this guy do is fight in the inside.
I hate to break it to you, Reed. I don't think you look like John Jones, but let me tell you something. I'll tell you who's going to look like John Jones. Teofimo Lopez against Steve Claggett, except the boxing version. But nah, look,
Hey!
Teofimo does what he's supposed to do. So help me God, Breezy. If I see Teofimo Lopez slack off in this fight, I'm gonna actually be pissed. Cause I love the guy. I love Teofimo. When he's actually on his game, I put him up there against some of the best. I really do. But God, when he's just slacking off or whatever, dude, he annoys me, bro, so much. So I'm expecting the legit Teofimo Lopez to go in there and whoop Steve Claggett. So give me Teofimo by 5th round knockout. With that being said, we gave y'all the breakdown for the fight of the century right here. You know what I'm saying? This would have been the fight of the century. Legitimately, this would have been the fight of the century if this was the 1700s and this was the first ever boxing fight. However, because we're in the year of 2024 and everybody is asking themselves who the frig is Steve Claggett, then I mean, what are we supposed to say, man? What are we supposed to say?
Before you end the episode, I just want to say it is getting hot outside, so make sure y'all stay hydrated on the H2O. It's hotter than two babes cooking steak on the grill on a Sunday afternoon. So make sure you stay hydrated and drink your doggone H2O.
It felt like 106 around here. And then for just 2 seconds, I was eating outside and the wind blew my chips away. So, my lunch wasn't that great, man. You know what I'm saying? But that 106 was definitely kicking. It was definitely kicking my ass. Thank God I don't work outside. Actually, you know what? Shout out for all the people that work outside, okay? Because this heat ain't no joke. But with that being said, it's going to definitely heat up come the 29th when Teofimo Lopez fights Steve Claggett. Let me tell you that much, all right? You guys have been talking about Tank Davis and Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, Alexander Usyk. You guys have been talking about Ryan Garcia. But, I mean, who's beating Steve Claggett right now, man? Like, ain't nobody beating Steve Claggett. Number 1 pound for pound right there. But with all seriousness, though, make sure you guys tune in on the 29th. It's going to be on Top Rank Boxing. Again, it's going to be in a convention center in Miami in front of 5,000 people. I am sorry about that. But basically, y'all know what to do. If you're not going to tune into that Teofimo Lopez fight, you know what you need to tune into? The Puncher's Point, okay? We keep on giving you guys predictions, breakdowns, news, you know? We keep on giving you all the latest updates, all the latest things in boxing. You know what I'm saying? If you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate boxing fan, if you are a seasoned boxing fan, it doesn't matter what you are. Make sure you guys continue to stay on point with the Puncher's Point.